हरि ओम। वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. Welcome to session 73 of the new series Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation, a study of selected verses from Bhagavad Gita based on Shankar Bhashya. In today's session, we will continue our study of 13th chapter with verses 13.11 to 13.15. To explain these verses, we have Dr. Netra, Dr. Anupama Shetty, Sri Ullas, Dr. Hegde sir, Sarika Ramachandran, Soumya Naik, and again Dr. Anupama madam will moderate the session. Over to you, madam, please.
Unmute, please. Unmute.
Thank you, sir. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. As Shri Venkatesh just announced, we are doing Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. Here we see Krishna is explaining 6 technical words, also called paribhasha shabdaha, used in Vedanta. They are Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetram, Kshetrajna, Jnanam, and Gneyam. Rearranged in 3 categories, Prakriti and Kshetram are the Achetana Tattvam. Purusha, Kshetrajnam, and Gneyam belong to the Chetana Tattvam, and Jnanam here refers to Sadgunas. In the verses we are studying now, we understand the word Jnanam here to mean Jnana Sahayaka Gunaha, or virtues which promote Atma Jnana. Since these virtues promote self-knowledge, they are called Jnanam. Jnana Karanavat Jnanam iti uchyate. These virtues help keep our minds healthy. If our mind is not healthy, the intellect becomes a hostage of this sick mind. Mental health is essential to enjoy peace, security, and tranquility. A healthy mind enables the intellect to discriminate, to analyze, and grasp the subtle concepts of Vedanta. It is vital for our intellect to be well informed. How do we do this? Through Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, Guru Shastra Upadesha. Both our intelligence quotient and spiritual quotient should be optimized. The mind should be disciplined. How is this done? By becoming a sadhana chatushtaya sampanna, and therefore we should have a high emotional quotient. Our sense organs should be well restrained. All the while, remember, our destination is moksha, because tasmat na bhuyaha, na jayate. There is no rebirth from here. Ultimately, it is absolutely mandatory to have a teamwork of these, our spiritual, intelligence, and emotional quotients. This is called arjavam. If the intellect cannot guide the mind, if the mind cannot guide our sense organs, the result will be cacophony instead of symphony. To be a Vijnanavan, the body, sense organs, mind, and intellect should be healthy and should be in harmony. FIR should be reduced, and study of scriptures or Swadhyaya is mandatory. In the words of Yamadharmaraja in Kathopanishad, we've seen this verse. Yaha tu avijnanavan bhavati ayuktena manasa sada tasya indriyani avashyani dushta ashva iva saratehe. Just as we have physical parameters which indicate physical fitness, the virtues mentioned here are vital to gain jnana yogyata. These Vedanta-friendly virtues are 20 in number, and they are amanitvam, or humility at the manasika level, adambitvam, or humility in action, kaika, ahimsa, non-violence, kshanti, or titiksha, arjavam, as we just heard, an integrated personality where the thoughts, words, and actions are in harmony. Acharyopasanam, reverence to Guru, who is the temple of all scriptures. Shaucham means purity, both within the mind and outside. Stairyam, which means willpower. Atma vinigraha, or self-mastery. Indriya arteshu vairagyam. This means mastery over the sense organs, also called tamaha. Anahankara. Ahankara means aham iti karanam. Anahankara means humility at the vachika level. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, dukkha, dosha, anudarshanam. This means to be free from deha abhimana doshas. Asaktihi, or mental detachment, mano nigraha. Putradhara grihadishu anubishwangaha means without an excessive attachment. We must not create situations where a mild mamakara becomes intense mamakara and the same thing becomes ahankara. Then we have nityam samachittatvam ishta anishto papattishu. That means samatvam towards joyful and sorrowful situations by developing Ishvara Arpana Bhavana and Prasada Buddhi. All the while, we must remember that bhakti is an integral part of all these sadhanas. Everything other than Brahman, we must remember, is perishable. This is Nitya Anitya Viveka, and hence we should develop Vairagyam towards the world. This is called Viveka Vairagya Janya Bhakti. We have then seen Avyabhicharini Bhakti, which means unswerving devotion or Ananya Bhakti. Krishna also mentions Viveka Desha Svitam, resort to a secluded place and reflect upon ourselves. Krishna says we should not be addicted to, or we should not resort to people's company just as a means of diverting our focus from ourselves. We have to develop Jana Samsadi Aratihi. The word rati means to revel, and arati means to refrain from this extroversion. But Sajjana Samsadi Rati is okay, like we've seen in Bhajagovidam. Satsangatvam Nisangatvam, Nisangatve Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve Nishchalatatvam, Nishchalatatve Jivan Muktim. Through the company of the wise or good, there arises non-attachment. From this non-attachment comes freedom from delusion. And where there's freedom from delusion, there is abidance in self-knowledge, which leads to freedom when alive or Jivan Mukti. Finally, the last two virtues called Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam, or knowledge of benefit of Jnana Phalam, and Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, which is also called Vedanta Vichara. Tattva Jnana Artha Darshanam. All the virtues that were described here are for Jnana Yogyata Prapti, which is a means to accomplish Jnanam, which is the end. So the means is Jnana Yogyata and the end is Jnanam. If I am a Jignasu Bhakta, my love for these virtues has to be proportional to my love for Jnanam. Tattva Jnanam is the knowledge of reality and Artha is the Prayojanam or Phalam. What is the benefit of this knowledge? Atmanyeva Atmana Tushta. The final and most important virtue, Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, means a systemic and consistent study or Vedantic scriptures under the guidance of a guru. Adhyatma Jnanam means Atma Jnanam, and the method for this is Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. This Shastra Vichara is not possible without a guru. The guru is like the sun, which facilitates the lotus called Shastra to bloom in our minds. Vedanta Ambuja Suryoya. Whilst all other virtues prepare the mind, it is only Shravana, or listening to the guru, that produces knowledge. Lord Krishna then proceeds to explain the word Jneyam as Param Brahma, which is to be known by all. Why? Yet Jnatva Amrutam Ashnute, gain this knowledge to attain immortality, he says. We are here blessed to receive the essence of the Upanishad from Jagat Guru Sri Krishna. I request Dr. Hegde to take the session forward from here. Thank you.
Verse number 12, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Jneyam yattat pravakshami yat jnatva amritam ashnute anadimat param brahma na sat tan na asad uchyate. We are entering the portion of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called Jneyam. Jneyam, it means that which is worth knowing. Yet tat jneyam, that which is to be known. Why is it worth knowing? Shri Krishna says, Pravakshami, I will teach you. Yet jnatva, knowing which, ashnute, you will attain to amritam, immortality. So Shri Krishna is saying, I'm now going to teach you that which is worth knowing. In the Mandukya, the same thing is called Vigneyam, that which is specially and worth knowing. And this is all about Brahman. And Brahman is something which cannot be described with words. Now, whenever you come to the topic of Brahma Vidya, that is why teaching Brahma Vidya is considered a miracle, because the teacher has to teach something which is not an object that can be experienced or that which can be taught. Normally, in all our teaching, it is about some object which we can have certain attributes. So there is a problem about teaching about Brahman because we cannot teach about it directly. And therefore, any teaching causes confusion. And that is why many teachers who have an understanding of Brahman attain to a silence, and very few of them try to teach, because the moment they try to teach, they realize they are causing more confusion than clarity. It is said in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. We are talking about something which the mind cannot understand, because the mind can only understand something objective and which the words cannot describe. So it is about something yato vacho nivartante. That means the words and the mind go and come back. Your words are not able to grasp the absolute truth. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, they say there is one method of teaching what Brahman is. And that is where we have this word, neti neti, which says, no, it's not this, it is not this. That means the teacher helps the student to negate anything that you see and experience. That is what Swamiji always tells us about two fundamental laws of Vedanta. I am something other than whatever I experience. I experience the whole world in front of me through all my sense organs, and whatever I can see, experience, or imagine also, I am not that. Then I come to this body, I am not this body. I come to my mind, I am not that. So, mano buddhi hankara chittani naham. I have negated. Finally, we come to the negator, the one who's using this body-mind to negate. And then you land on that, and there you attain to silence, because this you have attained to a state of Parabrahma, which is truly limitless, that has no space-wise limitation. It is Sarvagataha, no time-wise limitation, therefore it's nityaha, and there is no attributes, therefore it is called nirguna. This verse says it is anadimat. It has no beginning, no ends, and it is limitless. And if you know that, you attain to ashnute, you attain to immortality. In the Bhashyam, Adi Shankara has said, now if you have to teach something, that something object should have certain attributes or qualities. So Brahman has no attributes. Therefore, you have a difficulty in talking about Brahman, which is nirguna. Now, does it have any action? Brahman is akarta. It does not do any action. And does it have any relationship with something? It is asangatva. So when there is an entity like that, so how do you teach? So that is the whole miracle, and that is what we have come to. The introductory verse, which says, Neyam yattat pravakshami. I'm going to teach you about something that is worth knowing. Why is it worth knowing? Yat jnatva amritam ashnute. And if you are able to attain to that, your life will become danyaho. Your life will be a blessed life, because there is this another beautiful mantra from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, which says, Asatoma Sadgamaya. From that which appears to be real, I have come to the real. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Suddenly there is the light of knowledge has dawned in my life. Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. I suddenly discover my limitlessness, my immortality. That is this beautiful introduction. And then we have a set of verses, verses 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And each of these verses are seemingly contradictory. So let us see how Sri Krishna tries to explain these verses. And let me chant verse number 13. Sarvataha pani padam tat sarvatokshi shiromukam sarvata shruti malloke sarvam avritya tishtati. This is the Sanskrit word. And let us look at the English translation for this verse. So it has hands and legs everywhere. So you have to imagine that it, whatever that it is. So see, this is the problem. If you look at English translations of the Bhagavad Gita, and this most beautiful verse of the entire Bhagavad Gita, if translated to English, reads like this. And this is a good translation. It has hands and legs everywhere. It has eyes and heads and mouths everywhere. It has ears everywhere. It remains pervading everything in the world. That is the very good and a literal translation. Does it make any sense? Certainly to me, it makes no sense, but this is the meaning of these words. And I can also tell you, if there are few verses in the Bhagavad Gita, which is worth remembering, which is worth chanting in your mind, it is this. Why is this verse so important? That is why when the same verse is explained by an acharya like Swami Paramarthananda, suddenly the words of the scriptures become alive, and these words can transform. Before I go to explain, let me tell you a story. Perhaps I have told the story before. World War II, there was a church in the United Kingdom which was bombed by the Germans, of course. And there was a statue of Jesus with the hands up, which was destroyed. All the faithful of the church after the war gathered all the marble pieces of this statue together and carefully reassembled. And they got the statue in order, but there was a problem. The problem was the hands were lost. It was so completely destroyed, they could not reconstruct the hands. And after doing such a meticulous work, they were really at a loss. How can you put a picture of Jesus without hands? And then somebody got a brilliant idea. They put a board beneath that which says, from now on, your hands are the hands of God. Now, what we are trying to introduce is Vishwa Rupa Ishwara Darshana. Now, when you see hands and legs everywhere, when you see eyes, heads everywhere, Can we go to the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita? You don't have to look at, you can see that big picture of the Virat Rupa of Vishnu with many heads. That is one way of seeing it. Another way of seeing it is anybody's hands, anybody's legs, anybody's mouth, anybody's head is the hands and heads of the Lord. So that is why Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshana is the very important stepping stone for us to move from Ekarupa to Arupa. And this verse is helping us to move from Ekarupa to Vishwarupa to Arupa. And one way of seeing this multiple hands and heads is to be able to have that vision of Vishwarupa Ishvara Darshana. Somebody asked Swami Dayananda, what is God? And his answer is, what is God. Now, this is a brilliant answer for an understanding of the Vedanta, which we are going from Vishwarupa Ishvara to Arupa. And all of the Upanishads want you to understand about something called existent. Now, whenever we say Brahman is Sat, Chit, Ananda or Ananta, Chit means consciousness, Sat means existence. Now, Brahman is existent, consciousness, and limitless. So, what is this existence? That is what we have come to. Now, all scientific efforts is to find what is the basic substance of matter. If you break down, you come to molecules, and you break down molecules to atoms, and then you come to atoms, you break down to subatomic particles. The Vedas have done this study long back, and they said that the basic substance from which the whole world is made up of is something formless, it is abstract, it is intangible, but it is there because of which the whole world is existent, and Vedanta calls that substance as existent Brahman. What do you understand by existent Brahman? Of course, you need a teacher like Swami Paramarthananda ji to help you to understand how do I see the world as existent. Now, whenever you use an adjective, for example, when you say a tall tree or a huge mountain, you will see an adjective is describing the property of a tree, and the tree is the substance or the mountain is the substance. Sometimes you will say golden bangle or a wooden chair. Can you see the difference? Here, the adjective is describing what is the substance it is made of. And bangle or chair is the description of gold or the description of wood. Can you see that? Therefore, a noun or an adjective can sometimes describe a substance, can sometimes describe an attribute. If this is clear, it takes us a long time to understand the difference, the two ways in which you can use a noun and an adjective. Now, I will say, I have an existent computer in front of me. There is an existent camera. There is an existent mobile. There's an existent wall. What is our normal understanding of this word existence? Swamiji says, to understand this substance called existence, which cannot be perceived by our sense organs. See, we can understand blue, green, any attributes because they are immediately seen by our sense organs. But when I say an existent wall, you have to do a lot of imagination. That requires some amount of acclimatization. And what is that acclimatization that we have to do? We have to say, just like we say golden bangle, it is an existent wall. The substance of the wall is existence, and the shape of existence is that of a wall. So existence has taken the shape of the floor. Existence has taken the shape of a computer. Can you imagine that? Just like gold has taken bangle chain ring forms, a wood can take multiple forms. So too, existence has taken the shape of anything and everything in the world. Now, because of Maya, I have a confusion between what is the substance and what is the existence. Maya makes me think that wall is the substance, and it is an existent wall is an adjective, but actually it is something reverse. How do we understand? And this is where the Vedantic teachers take us to the dream example. In dream, all of us create a dream world. And in the dream world, you have so many things which are animate and inanimate. For example, you may see a mountain or a river, and then you will see people also. People would be animate, whereas mountain and rivers are inanimate. Not only we create animate, inanimate objects, we create a body for ourselves. And my dream body is interacting with the dream world. Now, whether it is animate, whether it is inanimate, whether it is somebody else, or it is me, you will see in the dream, all these objects are made from my thoughts only. I have given them existence. I create them, I support them, and at the end, they all resolve into me. That means the basic substance of all of them is not mountain substance or not river substance or man woman substance. It is only a thought which has taken that form. So too, this whole world is Sat Chit Ananta. What do you mean by Sat Chit Ananta? When I am fast asleep, Sat and Chit are together. Whenever Sat and Chit are together, I experience limitlessness. The moment my mind comes into being and the moment I wake up, there is a physical split. The world has gone there. There is an existent world, and I am here, the one who's seeing the world. And in Mandukya and in the Upanishad, they say the seer is called Vishwa, and the whole world that I see is Virat. In the dream world, the seer of the dream is called Taijasa, and the world is Hiranyagarbha, Prajna, Ishvara, and so on. But the reality is one substance has divided itself into two because of the mind, and the mind has the ability to split or seemingly split that Sat Chit, which is limitless, to something which is limitation. Now, with this background and with this very elaborate background, let us understand this verse. Tat means that Brahman, that existence principle, which is not a property, which is a substance, which is a noun. And that has become Pani Pada. Head, face, everything. It pervades everything. Remember, my sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva. Just like gold pervades all the ornaments, existence pervades everything. And this Sat Brahman, so initially I see it as Vishwarupa Ishvara Brahman. Ishvara. Now, when I come to the Upanishads, I say Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma. Everything is indeed Brahman itself, and other than Brahman, there is nothing else. Or you can say everything is me alone. I have given existence to the same world. Yasya eva spuranam sadatmakam asat kalpartakam bhasate. I have given existence to the whole world. For this verse and for the next few verses, we have to understand what is called Adhyaropa Apavada. Now, especially the next verse, Sarvendriya Gunabhasham, which will be described by Dr. Sarika. There is something called Adhyaropa, deliberate superimposition, Apavada, subsequent negation. That is the only way the Upanishads and Upanishadic teachers will help us to understand. Now, this verse has got Sarvataha Panipadav, Sarvato. You will see Sarva, Sarva, Sarva coming so many places. Sarvata Shruti Malloke, Sarvam Avrita Tishtati. And in the next verses, you will see Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, Sarvendriya. The word Sarva comes so many times in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Chandogya Upanishad, there is the Mahavakya, Sarvam Kaluvidam Brahma. If you go Sarva Bhuteshu, so many times in the Bhagavad Gita, it will come. Sarva Karma Parityaga in the 12th chapter. And of course, we have our favorite verses. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Sham Swastir Bhavatu, and so on. The next verse will be explained by Dr. Sarika, verse 14. Dr. Sarika, please.
Thank you, sir. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namah. In these verses, Krishna is describing Prajneyam, the one worthy of being known, the one knowing which nothing else remains to be known. So next clip. That one is Satchidananda Swarupa. Next clip, sir. Though it is the one Jneyam, it is also the one that cannot be known, as it is the knower itself. When our gurus deal with a topic which cannot be described, they introduce a methodology other than what is used usually. wherein we teach about any object using the attributes or gunas of that object. We take the help of the attributes to describe a thing. But when we are talking of the subject itself, one click, sir, the one thing which our attention can never grasp, we have to use alternate methods. Adhyaropa apavada is one such methodology. This next verse uses this 3 times in quick succession to drive the point home. To understand what Adhyaropa apavada means, we have the hand and light analogy. It's only the presence of hand which manifests the presence of light. Introduction of hand is Adhyaropa. And then taking away the hand and understanding the light is present even in the absence of the hand is apavada. Next slide, sir. Coming to the verse, Sarvendriya gunabhasam, Sarvendriya vimarjitam, Asaktam sarvabhrutchaiva, Nirgunam gunabhoktracha. Satchidananda is, here we are talking about Satchidananda Swarupam, which is a compound of 3 words. So next slide. When we say Sat, we mean existence. Not existing things, but existence itself. When we talk of objects, say the chair is, the table is, this slideshow is, the isness of each of these things comes from the Sat principle or from existence itself. One click, sir. We know that these things are because we have a conscious experience of these existent things. This conscious experience comes from the Chit principle, which cannot be separated from the Sat principle, as we can never possibly have non-existent consciousness. Each experience has a value attached to it. It touches us or moves us in either a positive or negative direction. This value comes from the infinitude or anantatvam of existence consciousness. The trio together is a single indivisible principle. Existence cannot be divorced from consciousness and cannot be divorced from its own infinitude. Next slide, sir. Swami Paramarthanandaji teaches us 5 principles regarding existence consciousness. 1, it is not a part, a product, or a property of matter. 2nd, it is an independent entity which pervades and enlivens matter. 3rd, it goes beyond the dimensions of matter or the body. 4th, it survives even when the body is destroyed. And lastly, surviving existence consciousness is not recognizable post death. Not because it is not there, but because there is no body medium to manifest it. Just as you do not see light in free space, not because light is absent there, but because there is no manifesting medium. Next slide, sir. All of the existing things are presented to our consciousness through our senses or indriyani. According to Gita Bhashyam, indriyani is the sum total of 5 jnanendriyani, 5 karmendriyani, and 4 antahkarana, that is mana, buddhi, chitta, and ahankara. Next slide, sir. Sarvendriya gunabhasam, the one which is revealed in each of these sensory experiences, or as expressed in Kenopanishad, pratibodha vidhitam matam. Each experience, for example, a plate of delicious sizzler, the sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch of this delicacy not only reveals the dish itself, but also reveals the one who's experiencing the dish. Just in the same manner as every sight proves the presence of my eyes and my ability to see. Next slide, sir. The same experience of enjoying the sizzler can be replicated in a thought, a memory, or a dream, wherein the experience is there, but without the object. A click, sir. In both the cases, an actual act of eating the dish versus a thought, a memory, or a dream of eating the same dish, the experience proves the presence of the experiencer. But in the latter case, the experience gives a false notion of functional sensory organs or of sense objects. Therefore, it is more true to say that each experience reveals Brahman rather than the presence of either sense organs or of sense objects. Next slide, sir. These organs of senses also are actually objects of our experience. They appear while we are awake, they disappear when we are off to sleep, and then reappear in part or whole in our dreams. And we may actually lose them even while we are in our awake state. So they come and go within our experience, while our experience, that of functional sense organs or their absence, continues unhindered. Therefore, it is valid enough to state that the experiencer is in reality free of the sense organs. Sarvendriya vivarjita. Next click, sir. This part of the verse speaks of Adhyaropa Apavada about Chit aspect of Satchidananda. One click, sir. The one revealed by each conscious experience. Next click, sir. And also the one which continues in absence of all conscious experiences. Next slide, sir. Similarly, all objects in the world depend on the experience of this one I for their existence. No existent object can ever be spoken of without an experiencer speaking of it. Therefore, that one I is the one supporter of all objects. It lends existence to all objects. Sarvabhrit. All objects are suspended in consciousness. It is consciousness which allots a space and time for each object to exist. But again, as we spoke earlier, these objects come into our awareness in one state of awareness, say waking, and are completely wiped out of our awareness in another, say in deep sleep. There are several entities in this universe which came and went without a trace of memory in current collective consciousness. Next slide. Therefore, consciousness is completely free of all objects, asakta. We can understand this better by understanding the mithyatvam of our waking experience. Just as all objects, events, and experiences in our dream is constituted by nothing other than our dream, mind, and thoughts, our mind is actually totally free of everything that was dreamt up. Similarly, all objects which appear in consciousness in our waking state also are made of nothing else than consciousness itself, and therefore has no substantial existence apart from it. Just as a lake with the forest and hill reflected on its surface is the adhar or substance which makes up all the reflections and yet is itself totally free of all the objects. Next slide, sir. So here in this second part of the verse, we have spoken through Adhyaropa Apavada about the Sat aspect of Satchidananda. One click, sir. The presence of all objects proves the existence of consciousness within which they are experienced. One more click. Consciousness continues in the absence of all objects and is in fact free of all objects presented. Next slide, sir. Consciousness is the infinite light which shines and gets reflected off our mind, creating an infinite blank screen of emptiness called Chidabhasa. Next click, sir. Any object projected onto the mind, any chittavritti, becomes the limit which we can perceive. Infinite light streaming, next slide, sir. Infinite light streaming unhindered through darkness of space is imperceptible till it hits an object such as a planet, a satellite, or a comet, which reflects it back to help us experience the bright object in dark sky. Next click, sir. A guna or attribute is therefore an experienceable limit. Gunas are threefold: sattva, rajas, and tamas. They are finite, experienceable attributes which provide value or meaning to our experience. These gunas are also experienced in the forms of thoughts. Sattva inspires joy, rajas brings with it sorrow, and tamas is experienced as delusion by Satchidananda Brahman. Guna bhoktra. Next slide, sir. If a movie screen has to faithfully show the movie with all its color and cinematography in its perfection, it has to be itself free of attributes. One click, sir. If it is itself having pictures and objects imprinted on it, next click, sir, then movie cannot be visualized well. So is the case with our mind. The reason two people see the same object differently is because their minds are colored differently due to their prior conditioning. Next slide, sir. The dull, dead, insentient universe becomes vibrant with beauty, ugliness, goodness, evil, raga, dvesha, one click, sir, only because of our mind, which lends these attributes to them. But this color also belongs to the mind only. Next slide, sir. While the light which illumines the mind and its vritti is in fact completely devoid of all attributes. It is nirguna. Here we have spoken through Adhyaropa Apavada about the Ananda aspect of Satchidananda, the one within which all gunas appear, and also the one which is itself free of all gunas. Next slide, sir. That one Satchidananda Rupa, which is based on all of our sensory experience. Next slide, sir. Next click. Yeah, next slide, sir. That one Satchidananda Rupa, which is the basis of all sensory experiences, yet free from all senses. Next click, sir. Which is the foundation for all existing objects, yet free from all of it, which is the enjoyer of all gunas or attributes, yet nirguna or attributeless, is the only one that exists. It doubles up to become the experiencer, the experienced, and the experience itself. And that one is none other than you. Next slide, sir. Tvayi anantam mahambodho vishwavichi subhavataha udetu vastamayatu nate vriddhirna vakshati. In you, the infinite great ocean, the wave of the universe arises and subsides by its nature. There is no increment nor reduction in you thereby. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sarika. It's not my turn to moderate, but I'm still very tempted to say a few things. Very nicely explained, because this is a very, very difficult verse both to understand and also to explain. If there are two verses in the Gita which I would like you to go back to, is the first one that I spoke, Sarvataha Panipadaucha. Tat. And this verse, Sarvendriya Guna Basam. Now you're listening to me. So through all the sense organs, you are experiencing him alone. You are seeing him alone. That is Adhyaropa. That means we are trying to understand Brahman in relation to creation. See, Brahman has nothing to do with creation, just like on a screen, when you project a movie, the screen has no sangha, no relationship without that movie. And yet without that screen, without the Sarva Brichaiva, that which supports everything. But it is Nirgunam Guna Bhoktricha. It seems to have all the gunas. Sarvendriya Gunabhasa, a beautiful word. Through every sense organ, I am experiencing him alone. Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. So first is Adhyaropa, the second is Apavada. But my sense organs are of a lower order of reality. They have nothing to do with Brahman whatsoever. That is why few things we have to learn in Vedanta. One is what is called Paramarthika Vyavahara Pratipasaka one. Second is what is called Adhyaropa Apavada. These are all teaching modalities. And if this teaching modality is very clear, these two verses and the verses that come, even the next verse is also a difficult verse. Saumya, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charameva cha sukshmavat tad avigneyam durastham chantike cha tat. So in these verses, Lord Krishna, next slide sir, is dealing with the topic of Gneyam, which is another word for Brahman itself. He is using paradoxical language to indirectly reveal Brahman. Vedanta doesn't want one to grasp Brahman, because if we do so, then Brahman becomes an object. When this is dropped, what is left behind is that subject, and that is Brahman. Next, the first quarter, which is Bahir Antascha Bhutanam. This means Brahman is outside as well as inside. Now, how does this work? Outside and inside are relative terms, and they depend on the reference point. So the example is, if one is in the hall and the reference point is the hall, he is inside. But if the reference point is the bedroom, then he is outside. Similarly, in this verse, what is the reference point? The reference point is Bhutanam, which is skin. Bhuta is the physical body, and the outermost layer is the skin. So, skin is the reference point. In the Bhashyam, Adi Shankaracharya explains that because of avidya and ignorance, two things happen. One is the body is projected, and the second is I identify with this body. So, keeping this body as the boundary or avadhim, Atma or Brahman is outside. And the same Atma or Brahman is inside as the witness, consciousness principle, which is the Sakshi. Now the second quarter. Next slide, sir. Acharam charam niyam cha. Brahman is both non-moving and moving. Now, how is this? When you say that Brahman is chit and it cannot move, from the standpoint of the reflected consciousness, it seems to be moving. But here, Adi Shankaracharya means something else. The charam is all the living beings in the creation, that is the bodies, the animals, etc., which are moving. Acharam means sthavaram, that includes the plant kingdom and all the inert objects, mountains, etc. So what is the final message? Brahman alone is in the form of Chaitanyam. Also, Chaitanya Tattvam also. Satyam is Brahman and Mithya is also Brahman. So like what Adi Shankaracharya's Bhashyam, it gives a well-known example. Yatha, previous slide, sir. Yatha Raju Sarpa Abhasaha. Snake is not totally different from the rope, but it is not identical either. The world is neither totally different nor totally identical. That is why it is called mithya. Next, now continuing to the third quarter. Sukshmat vat tad vigneyam. Being subtle, it is hard to know. For whom? In the Bhashyam, he says, avidhusham. That is, for an ignorant one, it is hard to know. Though it is knowable in itself. The enlightened one, however, knows the unknowable without knowing. So Adi Shankaracharya raises a question here. If Brahman is available in the form of all sharirams, the body, and we experience this, we see all the things around us, we see all the objects, etc. So we should all be knowing Brahman, but we don't understand this. Why is that? Okay, the answer is Brahman is Satyam. Everyone is experiencing Brahman only in the form of the world, but existence is fundamental and the world is incidental. What do Ajnanis think? They think that the world is fundamental, or they think that the world is substantial, because that is what we perceive with our senses. But actually existence is fundamental. Okay. And the Ajnanis think that existence is just an attribute. So in the next slide, we'll just understand by looking at the example which Sir already explained about. So you can see the tall tree. So when you say tall, tall here is an attribute. And what is the substance? The tree is the substance. How can we understand that? When you remove the tallness, the tree still remains. But in the example, golden bangle, golden seems to be the attribute, right? But if you remove the gold, what happens? The bangle is not there because gold is fundamental. The bangle is just the name and form or the nama rupa. So this example is easy to understand, golden bangle, but I and world is a little challenging. So in this similar way, existence is fundamental. Even though the world seems tangible, it seems substantial, it seems weighty, but all these things that we see around us is only nama rupa and existence is fundamental. He says, Tathapi Vyomavat Sukshmam. That is, in the case of the bangle, the previous slide, the cause is gross. In the case of Brahman, the cause is Sukshma. That is subtle, like Vyoma. Vyoma means Akasha. But the wise one, even though it is subtle, knows that knows Brahman as I. He sees the world and he says that it is existence, that the world is existence with Nama Rupa. So, how is he the wise one? What makes him different? Veda Pramanam makes the difference. If Jnana Chakshu is there, he sees Sarvam as Brahman. When does he see Sarvam as Brahman? Nityam, always. Now the last quarter. Durastham cha antike cha. This is also another beautiful paradox. We learn that Brahman is far away and also Brahman is nearby. So how can this be possible? Only from two different standpoints. Adi Shankara says, for Ajnanis, since Brahman is not known, even if he searches him for crores of years, he will never come across Brahman as the object. Therefore, for the ignorant one, Brahman is durastha. But for a jnani, he knows that Brahman as oneself. So, antikecha, Brahman is the closest. It is being the very Atma itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Soumya. I'm again tempted to pitch in because your explanation was so wonderful. Now, these are test verses to see, have you understood these paradoxical verses? And if you're able to understand and put it in a word, thank God we have the words of Swamiji. But then one can easily make out, are you using borrowed words or words of understanding? Now, when you see any object, now we are going after this text. That means we are currently studying Atma Bodha. And after Atma Bodha, the next text we are studying is Drik Drishya Viveka. Drik Drishya Viveka is a work by Swami Vidyaranya Swami. And Swami Vidyaranya, in this connection in relation to this verse, says every object in the world has got three components, has got five components. And what are they? Asti, Bhati, Priya, Nama, Rupa. Asti, Bhati, Priya means existence, consciousness, and bliss, Satchit Ananda, and Nama and Rupa. Normally, we see only Nama and Rupa, and we miss Asti, Bhati, and Priya. When you go through Vedantic training, you will realize this whole world is existent consciousness, limitlessness with Nama and Rupa. And that is the glory of going through Brahma Vidya. And thank God for the teachers. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you, Dr. Anupama Madam and Dr. Hegde Sir, and all speakers of the day for a wonderful session. Thank you, friends, for your active participation. Let's tune in at 6:45 p.m. on Friday, the 11th April 2025 for session 18, the Atma Bodha revision classes. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you.